Hello everyone, this is Betsy from Ideas Times 2, and today I have a very fun project tutorial for you today. So this kind of started out with Tracy Fox's challenge that she recently had, and it was called Painted Papers, where she had shown us some beautiful papers she had created using just paint, and she just had some lovely projects that she made with the paper, and so it was just beautiful. I wanted to give that a try. And it also was born from, it's kind of a dual kill two birds with one stone type thing, because I've been wanting to use up these bags. So during the pandemic, my son has been working for Chick-fil-A for several years now, and during the pandemic, ever since the pandemic I should say, they bring your food to you in bags, and then the bags are perfectly clean, but you throw them away. And I started accumulating them because I thought it seemed like such a waste, and I've made paper bag journals before, and I knew that something could be made out of these bags. And so this bag is roughly 9 by 5, I think, but the size doesn't matter too much. It might depend on your finished size. But so anyway, between the painted papers and these Chick-fil-A bags I've been wanting to use for several years now, well, not several, probably a couple of years, or a year and a half, or a couple of years, this idea was born. So let me show you. I made a journal cover, and it'll look like this. On the back I have another little leaf here, and these are pockets. These are little front and back pockets. So as you can see, I haven't put the pages in yet, and there's the inside. So I love the way it turned out. It's a very fun feel. The bag is slightly wrinkled, so it's got a little wrinkly. It's a little crinkly too, wrinkly and crinkly. If you can see the red little pieces of little I don't know, splotches of red that you can see through, those are actually the chicken's design on there. So I didn't actually use any red paint, but you can see just little pieces of red, which I think is great. So this is what we're going to make today. I'll show you how I did this, and the colors I used. I'll let you know the colors I used, and how I did the leaf as well. So let's get started. I have this Chick-fil-A bag. Like I said, it's about 9 by 5. And how I started out with this is I just took the bag apart. So the first thing I did was take the bottom and just pulled it apart. It's glued a little bit, but as you can see, I coffee stained it. Now, I don't think you would have to coffee stain it at all, but I think it's kind of nice that in case there was anything peeking through here, it would be coffee stained or like tannish, and it wouldn't show like stark white. Even though I did use white on here, obviously, but I wanted the background to be more muted, so I don't mind that it's coffee stained, but I think you could use white. If you have a craft color, that would be awesome too. And then, so after I undid the boxed bottom, there's a little side seam. So what I'm aiming to do here is to lay this whole bag entirely flat. And then I'm just going to paint away. Just carefully, and I didn't have any trouble with the other one I did, and I didn't really have any trouble here either. If there is a little section you might need to reinforce with paper, I don't think that's a problem either. I had to reinforce this one because the top edge was ripped a little bit, like it is ripped a little bit right here, and just a little bit right here. So I just put a strip of paper behind it. So I don't think having a few little rough edges is going to matter at all. Okay, so this is what you have when you undo all the little glued parts of the bag. All right, so the colors I used on this were, now I don't think it has to be a certain type of paint. I've got a mixture of paints. I've got Deco Art, I've got Apple Barrel, I've got some metallic paint, Deco Art Americana. So anyway, and I even have a Deco Art glossy enamel. And like I said, also I have a metallic paint, which I did use in here. Can you see the little glowing gold there? I did use it for that. Also did a tag. So here's a tag. I used a little bit more gold on that one. So, but I used the same colors, and you can see the background through here a little bit more. All this is a time card. And I did a little bit more experimenting here. So the same type of thing. I made the background a little bit lighter and did it on black paper. And then I put a black leaf on there. So a little experimenting. There's another little experiment. And this is just waste paper from the printing, but I did experiment with a leaf on here, and I think there's another one there I can use. Another one there I can use too. So even your little experiments can be awesome, right? So there's that. So what I did, and there are more than one way. There is more than one way to do this. I used a jelly plate. Not everybody's going to have a jelly plate, so and a brayer. Not everybody's going to have these tools. It did come in super, super handy. But you can use a paintbrush, preferably probably a large paintbrush, or 2 or 3, depending on how many colors you have, because you're going to want to just paint and then paint and then paint with all your brushes and then get a nice mottled sort of look like this. But I did use a jelly plate and a roller, so I will show you how I did that. So I've been putting these upside down so you guys didn't have to wait for me to shake the bottles and everything. So on a jelly plate, you don't need much paint, just a little bit. You do need a piece of paper to sort of wipe off your brayer occasionally. So I am going to, this is a sample that didn't turn out so well, so I'm just going to use that for my waste paper. A lot of times your waste paper can turn out to be pretty cool too. Now I won't roll this whole thing in front of you, but I just want to show you a little bit of how I did this. So I used like a mustard yellow, a black, kind of an antique white, a fairly dark brown. This one's called coffee bean. So, and then my metallic gold that I mentioned already. So I've got these upside down, and they're going to mix and turn into, you know, interesting colors. But that's the nature of the jelly plate. So I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. You can totally mix this if you want to. You can keep it kind of spotty. So I'm going to see if I can get that. And then you just start rolling. Okay, just start rolling and see if I can get the glare off of my jelly plate by moving my light a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. There, you can see that a little bit better. So then you're going to roll it. Just keep going and just go all over the place. Now, this bag is a pretty good quality bag. It's not like a thick, heavy craft that you might get at the grocery store. So I do recommend, and just watch for it, once you get a nice layer of paint on here, to let it dry, and you're going to maybe need to put another coat or 2 on it. But if you start, even if it's wet and you just start rolling and rolling and rolling all over the place, you may tear the bag. So I would just recommend, you know, stopping and letting it dry a little bit now and then. Another thing I did was, when I felt like I couldn't get much more off of here, I just dabbed it onto the bag like that. So get your bag all over the place with one sort of palette, and then go back in with some different colors. Okay, so I don't want to do this whole thing in front of you, but so I have some yellow, mustard yellow, and the black going on here. So I might put in, next I might put in some brown. Let's do brown and the antique white. And if you're not happy with it, let it dry and just paint it over again. But I think you'll be happy with the way it turns out, because it's all very random, right? It's all very random, and it can come together and look amazing. Even if you think, wow, this is hideous, take a step back and look at it later. So just all over and get a nice mottled. So my opinion was you use 4 colors, maybe more. All right, my paper's getting pretty soft, so I will finish this up, and I'll be back. All right, so it's all done, all dry, and you can see it's pretty much the same, pretty close. And I also made one on craft paper. This is just packaging that came in some mail. So it's just craft paper, and this is more teals and blues. And there's a lot of the craft showing through, and then I splattered it with some ink. So just a different look. And I think I can, you know, break this into pieces and maybe use some of it for tags or pockets or fun things like that. I could make this into a cover too, I think, pretty easily, but fun. And then I also experimented on the lighter color to see if I could get the white leaf to show, and it shows on there too, which I think looks pretty great. So I might need to work on this just a little bit more, but I think that's a usable piece too. So I'm going to set that aside. All right, so here it is. Now what do we do with it, right? So the fun begins. Let the fun begin. So the first thing I did have some tears on the edges, and the other one I only had tears on one edge, but I went ahead and did both of the. So this, it's hard to picture right now, but one is the top of the bag. You know, the top of the bag always has that sawtooth edge to it. So that's the top of the bag, and this was the boxed bottom, which was all unfolded. And so those seem to be the weakest. Actually, this was the boxed bottom, because see this extra little tab? They had that on there. But it has a sawtooth edge too. I just realized that. So anyway, I just reinforced those edges, which seem to be a little bit weaker than the ones that are on the sides. And some of them got little tears in them. Just little ones, and just to reinforce a little bit, I just glued some paper on there, and it's just paper. It's not, you know, cardstock or anything. The cardstock I think would mess us up in the feel of this and the way it lays. So I think cardstock would mess it up a little. So this could be any color. I just chose black because my cover is mostly black. My paint is mostly black. Okay, so how do we get this to look like a book? So now you could use it like this and make a bigger book cover, journal cover, but then you would have to have a whole nother sheet to put on top here and glue them together. But this is just a small journal. As you can see, there's the size of my hand. So this is just a little small journal, and that's kind of what I was going for. So we're going to use this whole piece to make the front cover, and the back cover and then the inside of the book as well. So that will be folded up so all the sides will have the same pattern. But like I said, you could use this as a sheet, glue another one on top, and then you can make a bigger book. But let me just show you how this works. So we have, remember the sawtoothed edge on each side of this. What I did was I folded this up to follow the natural lines of the bag. So I folded this up, and I think this is actually interfering. So let me just rip this off just a tiny bit. And since it's paper, it's just regular paper, I don't think it's gonna make any difference whatsoever what this edge looks like. I just wanted it to reinforce the very, very edge of it. Okay, so let me get rid of that. So I followed the boxed bottom to make this, to fold this in and give this a nice firm edge. And then I just kept this edge the way it is, because if you're going to fold that one up too, it's going to make the book pretty small. So I just folded it on the natural fold of the paper, which some of those natural folds are sort of getting lost, right? Because we've kind of redone this paper. So I did it like that, and then folded it like this. So now you've got a folded edge here to make it a nice and sturdy fold, and then your sawtooth edge is over here. And like I said, you can manipulate this however you like. Just showing you the way I did it, and I love the size and the way it turned out. So it'll be, we're going to glue the edges in just a minute, but I want to show you how it's folded. So there we go for that. Then to make a pocket, I just folded this up about 1.5 inches, like this, to make a pocket. And then once that's all glued and sewed, this is what our journal will look like. Okay. Now you can choose, so you can choose which side of this painted paper you would want on your cover, and decide. Like, I think I like this side, so then I would just fold this up like this. But you can also fold this, like if this is my front, you can also fold it under, and then your journal will look like this, and then you'll have the pockets on the inside. You can do it that way as well. I think it's kind of cute to put it on the outside. So, and then once again, we're sort of following the line of this bag. Can you see that? This particular bag, and so it's about 1.5 inches, and it'll fold right up. Okay, so all I would do at this point, before I fold that up, before I do any sewing, what I'm going to do is, all I'm going to do is just, actually, before we glue it, I put another piece of paper. This is just paper, and I just set that right inside. In fact, I tucked it under here a little bit, and I cut it so that it's this size. Once the pocket is folded up, see that? It's just going to fit in here, and it's about 1/4 inch smaller on all sides. And then I just folded it up. Or I folded this up first so the paper isn't too long and it gets folded up inside this pocket. It's going to make the pocket too bulky. So it's just one layer of paper in there. I don't even think I glued it down. I don't think I did. I just went ahead, unfold the pocket, then let me get my glue fixed, and then glue all the edges. Okay, so this is our bottom. You know, if the paper inside gets a little glue on it, it's not a big deal. Oops, like it just did. Just glue all the edges. I didn't even glue the center. Really didn't find it to be necessary. a little line of glue. So just glue the edges like this and then fold it up. I was going to mention too, you don't have to undo the whole bag. For example, I undid the box to bottom, and then I went ahead and undid the side seam. You remember that? You don't have to undo the side seam if you want to just keep the bag and then like paint the front and then paint the back. I just thought it would be more uniform if you undid the whole bag and painted the whole thing all at once. So that's why I just thought I would mention that. Okay, so now it's all glued together. Got to do a little trim job right here. Some of those little ridges that got pulled on when I turned it inside out. Make sure it's nice and straight. You can always touch it up with a little paint if you need to too. Like I might do it that right here, the edge is just a tiny bit uneven. And I had it folded under a little bit, so I would just touch that up with a little black paint. Okay, but this is it for the cover. Just smooth it out, flatten it out, make sure it's nice and flat. When this is dry, I will stitch, and you don't have to stitch if you don't want to. I thought it was kind of a fun contrast to go with the leaf. Okay, so I would stitch around here, and then I usually start in the back, stitch all the way around, and then end your stitching here at the back of the book. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch, and then we'll work on the leaf. Alright, all stitched, ready to go. You can put your leaf or tie your leaf, you know, before you do all this work, but you have to figure out exactly where your front cover is going to be and kind of account for a spine and the pages in there. So I like to just wait until this moment to do this. Now you don't have to, obviously, you don't have to put a leaf on. I just thought in the spirit of the painted papers that we would just paint a leaf and then impress it on here. But you could, you know, you can, at this point, you can put your image on here. I would maybe layer up an image a little bit and do some sewing and then glue the whole thing on. Okay, so you could definitely do that as an option, but in the spirit of our painted papers, we're going to do it this way. Okay, so I did this with a brayer and my jelly plate, but I'm just going to show you how you don't need those things. So it's going to be a little bit messy here. The fact is, I'm going to grab a little baby wipe and a towel. All right, so all I'm going to do, it's sort of like finger painting. And I am going to use this leaf here. My leaves are a day old, so they're starting to curl up, and I'm hoping that's not going to be an issue. But I'm going to do this one. If you can find a leaf that has, the veins are pretty big, it will work better. And I think this one might work as well, but I'm gonna try this one. Look at that unique shape. Isn't that fun? All the leaves have this little notch just on one side, sort of like poison ivy, but I know it's not poison ivy. If it was poison ivy, you would not be seeing me film today, because I used this leaf yesterday and I would be probably in the hospital. So I know it's not poison ivy. This is a Rose of Sharon. So what I'm doing, I'm trying not to get it on the front of the leaf. So you use the back of the leaf. So the back of the leaf is where the veins are bigger. They're more pronounced. So all I'm doing is painting this with my fingers. Okay, I'm gonna wipe off my fingers real quick. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the leaf, position it on here. I think I want it to come down the stem a little too, so let me put a little stem on there. Position it on here the way I want it. Okay, And then I'm going to take just a scratch paper. Now I've got this one all dirty. So take a scratch piece of paper, put it over the top, and then just press. Just press, you know, going all directions, back and forth, circles. Okay. And then just carefully lift it up and away. And there you've got your image of your leaf. All right, so that will look like that. Very similar to this one here. Okay, and then this one, I did some tiny leaves there and put it on the pocket. And I was also thinking, I think it would be kind of cool to put a few, oh, so you could do this with oxide inks as well. If you have a white oxide ink, you could do this as well. You'd have to make sure it's totally dry. But the problem with that is that it reacts with water. Like this will not react with water. I mean, obviously it's paper, so you can't get it soaking wet. But if it's the paint, it's not going to smear. So, plus I wanted to paint it since it's painted papers. So, now I forgot what I was going to say, but very similar and look to it. Oh, I know. I was thinking about putting a script, like a few sort of grungy like script letters, or maybe a number over here or a number here in paint, and maybe just a few splatters of the whitish colored paint that I have here. I was thinking about doing that. I think that would be super cute. So you can build on this idea, right? But there it is. Now, one more step. I haven't done that on these yet, but one more step that I am going to do, and I would recommend it. It does not seem like this is gonna, you know, wear off or anything like that, but just to be safe, like it's not, you know, the paint is not cracking or anything like that, but just to be safe, what I'm gonna do next is take a spray sealer and spray my cover, both the outside and the inside, just to make sure to set the protect the paint. Okay, this is not dry, so I'm trying to be very careful with that, but I would definitely recommend this to spray on there. I think there are also some liquid type ones, or ones in a jar. I haven't experimented with those at all, but I have worked with this this type of thing, not necessarily this brand. I usually get whatever's on sale, but definitely recommend that. So that would be my final step on that, after I get all the inking or stamping or whatever it is that you choose to do on here. I think this is going to be super cute. I'm going to put some fabric here to reinforce the spine, sew in my signatures. I might even put eyelets here for the signatures and an eyelet here for a closure. Ah, it's going to be so cute. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this and give this a try. We have a Facebook group. We would love to have you join us there and maybe show us what you've tried from our tutorials. We have Instagram and an Etsy shop as well. So I will put all the links for those down below. We also have a Buy Me a Coffee account if you care to help us support this channel. Take care, everybody, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.